It started like a mirage, the kind of humid, sticky afternoon where the sky itself seems to sweat, 35 degrees Celsius at the MetLife. You could fry an egg on the seats and boil your sense of reason in the stands. Fluminense fans had made the pilgrimage in proud voice, their drums echoing against the cavernous shell of the stadium. Chelsea fans, well, they brought the quiet confidence of a team that had spent millions trying to win matches like this. And then came João Pedro, not even 25 years old, full debut, playing against the club that raised him. If you wanted a script, that's one. If you wanted something unscripted, you got it in the 18th minute. Thiago Silva, yes, that Thiago Silva, misjudged a cross like he was suddenly auditioning for the role of confused uncle at the family barbecue. Pedro Neto sends it in low and Thiago swipes at it like someone trying to bat a bee away from their face. The ball lands at the feet of João Pedro, who says, "Thank you very much," and curls it home with the kind of calm that made you forget the occasion. 1-0. And it felt like more. Not in the scoreline, but in the way Chelsea moved. They weren't flashy. No one was trying to juggle the ball on their neck or do back heels for Instagram, but they played like a team that understood their script. João Pedro's goal didn't just tilt the pitch. It tilted the emotional weight of the match. Every Fluminense touch afterward felt rushed, as if they could sense that moment had already begun to slip through their fingers. The penalty call in the 35th minute was the spark they thought they needed. Handball on Chalobah. The referee pointed to the spot. Fluminense fans erupted, Chelsea players bristled. And then, enter the video assistant referee, the joy-sucking vampire of spontaneity. You could practically hear the whistle suck the air out of the stadium as the decision was overturned. No penalty. The right call? Maybe. The kind of moment that shatters belief? Absolutely. And that's the thing about this match. Belief. The first half was full of little moments where Fluminense kept trying to believe. A shot from Hercules here, a hopeful run from Cano there. But every time they built something, Chelsea found a way to smother it. Whether it was a toe from Cucurella, a smart foul from Enzo Fernandez, or just the simple act of keeping the ball, Chelsea snuffed out Fluminense's joy like someone blowing out birthday candles at the wrong time. And don't get me started on Nkunku. The man had chances, plural. He was everywhere, threading passes, making runs, gliding like a man in search of redemption. But he couldn't finish a sentence tonight. One header wide, one shot blocked. Another attempt flashing past the post like a warning flare. He looked like a man trying to sprint through molasses. All the right instincts, all the wrong outcomes. Then there was the heat. Oh, the heat. You could see it in the players' faces, dripping like wax. Every break in play was a silent plea for mercy. Cucurella went down once and just lay there like a man who'd just realized his house key was inside the locked car. Gusto took a knock and looked at the bench like, seriously? Now? By the time the whistle blew for halftime, the score read 1-0. But emotionally, Chelsea were sitting 3 flights up with a glass of sparkling water, while Fluminense were stuck pressing the elevator button with sweaty fingers, hoping the doors would open. But the funny thing about football? Halftime doesn't mean reset. It just gives you enough time to wonder what comes next. And if you were Fluminense, that wondering probably felt like dread. Second half starts, and for a moment there's that illusion again, that whisper of a comeback, the subtle hum of hope. Fluminense, to their credit, don't emerge like a team that's already packed their bags. They press, they jab, they try to play between the lines. But Chelsea come out like a chess master who's already mapped out the endgame. 56th minute. Blink and you miss it. But if you saw it, if you really saw it, then you felt the floor collapse. It's Enzo who starts it, of course. Because, of course, it's Enzo. He pounces on a loose ball, snaps a pass into open space, and suddenly João Pedro is galloping. The kind of gallop where you can feel the defenders panicking behind him, the hopeless kind of chasing, like trying to catch a taxi that's already gone. And then the strike. Oh, the strike. He hits it like it owes him money. Full body commitment, lashes it right off the crossbar and in. If you were wearing headphones, you heard the bar rattle in your bones. If you were neutral, you applauded. If you were Fluminense, you sank. 2-0. Game over? Maybe not technically. But spiritually, Fluminense were writing postcards home. After that, the match stretched like old chewing gum. Bits of drama still clung to it, mostly around Fluminense's substitutions. They threw on Kano, Everaldo, Soteldo, names that promised chaos, but Chelsea didn't care. They just rotated. Brought off João Pedro. Job done. Nicholas Jackson came on and hit the post like he was trying to break it. Madueke danced down the right like he had somewhere better to be. Even Reece James made a cameo, looking like someone who'd wandered into the party late and just wanted to check if the drinks were cold. And through it all, Fluminense still had their moments. A header here, a deflected shot there. Everaldo forced a decent save. Cucurella cleared one off the line like a man possessed. They never gave up. That's important. They never stopped running, chasing, throwing themselves at Chelsea's back line like exhausted waves hitting a seawall. But effort without belief is just movement. And the belief was gone. You could see it in the way they started fouling, cheap, tired fouls. Pullbacks, lunges, mistimed tackles. Nonato went in clumsily. Soteldo got booked for frustration disguised as passion. Even the referee Letexier started flashing yellows like he was handing out coupons for a shop nobody wanted to visit. Then came the final minutes, and the game began to resemble theater. Caicedo went down with what looked like an ankle injury. No subs left. He limped off as Chelsea played with 10. But even that, even playing shorthanded in the 93rd minute, didn't rattle them. They were already in cruise control. And Fluminense? They huffed, puffed, and missed a few more chances. One final shot from Lima went sailing into the night sky like a paper plane tossed in frustration. The whistle blew at 100 minutes. A mercy, really. 2-0. Not a thrashing. Not an annihilation. But something worse for Fluminense. A match that slipped away before they could fully grip it. Chelsea didn't overwhelm. They just removed all options. Gently, methodically, like a locksmith working in silence. And that's the thing about matches like this. They don't break your heart all at once. They chip at it. Goal by goal. Minute by minute. Until you're left staring at the scoreboard, wondering how something so inevitable still managed to hurt. Let's talk about the teams, because this wasn't just a win on the scoreboard, it was a collision of ideas. Two different footballing identities met on the same pitch under suffocating heat, and only one of them walked out without a nosebleed. Fluminense came into this with history humming in their ears. They're not just a club, they're a feeling. Rio de Janeiro pride, samba in the veins, that unshakable belief that beautiful football still has a place in a game increasingly run like an algorithm. But the truth is, belief without structure starts to sag. They wanted to play. They tried to play. They weren't cynical, and maybe that's the problem. They played like idealists, trying to move the ball through the lines against a Chelsea midfield that didn't want to hear about philosophy. They played with the innocence of a team that still believed the ball could do the talking. Chelsea spoke another language entirely, fluent in pragmatism with a minor inefficiency. Thiago Silva, the icon, the talisman, the former Blue, had one of those matches that makes you feel the passing of time like a cold wind. He looked like he was chasing ghosts half the evening. That clearance he botched before the first goal, that wasn't just a mistake. That was a symbol, the moment the old world blinked and the new world put its boots through the door. And Chelsea? They were built for this. Literally. Sculpted, paid for, stress-tested in matches that feel like business meetings with grass. This squad, this terrifyingly expensive, absurdly young, frighteningly athletic group didn't just beat Fluminense, they bent them into awkward shapes and watched the seams tear. Enzo Fernandez, at the heart of it all, pulled strings like he was playing harp. Always available, always calm. And the team followed that rhythm. This wasn't a side looking to impress. It was a side that had nothing to prove and everything to take. There's a difference. Even when they weren't dominating the ball, Chelsea made Fluminense feel every touch. They compressed the pitch. They turned transitions into traps. It wasn't loud or flashy. It was clinical, brutal in its tidiness. Every second ball seemed to fall their way. Every duel felt slanted in their favor. They played like they'd already seen the match on replay. And then there was that midfield control. Moises Caicedo, before the injury, was snapping at ankles like a caffeine-fueled terrier, Unzo drifting into little pockets, Nkunku connecting play, dropping deep, dragging defenders into places they had no business visiting. It was positional warfare, and Chelsea had the high ground. Meanwhile, Fluminense had moments. Little sparks. Soteldo with his low center of gravity and refusal to be boring. Everaldo trying to muscle something out of nothing. Arias buzzing around like a man who'd swallowed an alarm clock. But it was all frantic. All reactive. Like they were always playing catch-up. Which of course they were. The Brazilian side wasn't outclassed in skill, but they were outmaneuvered in tempo, intention, and structure. It was a bit like watching someone trying to write poetry while being chased. The words might still be beautiful, but the rhythm's gone. The fear seeps in. So yeah, it wasn't a battle of equals. Not really. It was a reminder that in modern football, emotion and history are starting to lose the arm wrestle against data and depth charts. Chelsea came in with a blueprint. Fluminense brought a dream. And in 90 minutes under that merciless New Jersey sun, the blueprint won. Let's do it. Let's get into the marrow of this thing, the players. Because tactics are fine and team sheets are cute, but football lives in the performances. It breathes through the people on the pitch, and some of these performances, they had fingerprints all over this match. Let's begin with the obvious, João Pedro. Full debut, 2 goals, 1 Boyhood club left gasping in his wake. He didn't just score, he announced himself. That first goal, calm, curled, clinical. Like he was ordering off a menu he'd memorized years ago. And the second? That was violence dressed in elegance. The strike off the bar, it sounded like a judge banging a gavel. Case closed. At 23, on this kind of stage, in this kind of heat, against that club, that's not just composure. That's destiny doing cartwheels. Now Enzo Fernandez. I could spend an entire podcast just on him, and honestly I might. He didn't just orchestrate the midfield, he sculpted it, with a chisel and a scalpel. His assist for João Pedro's second was the kind of pass that deserves a museum. He played like he had a cheat code, never rushed, always available. Every ball was a suggestion, and most of them were taken like gospel. Christopher Nkunku, well, he's going to have a frustrating highlight reel from this one, because he was everywhere, dropping deep, creating space, feeding teammates, taking shots, and yet the goal wouldn't come. There's something Shakespearean about it. He looked like a man trapped in a dream where you keep trying to open a door, but the knob keeps turning into smoke. But don't be fooled. He ran this game in shadows. The ball moved differently around him, and he'll score in the next one. Probably twice. Let's talk defenders, because Chelsea's back line was less of a line and more of a barricade. Marc Cucurella, remember him? He looked reborn. The clearance off the line was pure instinct, pure timing, pure guts. But he wasn't just heroic, he was smart. Covered ground, picked passes, even had a couple shots. One of those nights where you wonder why he isn't talked about more. Then you remember the haircut, and move on. Tosin Adarabioyo and Chaloba, quiet, in the best way. The kind of quiet that says, you shall not pass, but without screaming about it. They handled Fluminense's physical threats with the grace of nightclub bouncers. No fuss, no panic. Just, you're not getting in, mate. Caicedo, before hobbling off like a man who knew he'd overextended fate, was everywhere. He was the glue and the elbow grease. One moment he's snapping at Nonato's heels, the next he's pinging a pass 40 yards with the audacity of someone who knows his market value. Let's hope that ankle isn't too bad, because this team hums differently when he's on. Robert Sanchez, almost forgot him, which tells you everything. That's the greatest compliment for a goalkeeper. Made a couple of important saves, stayed big when he had to, didn't try to win any awards for theatrical dives. Just reliable, solid. The kind of night where you earn your clean sheet with boring competence. And finally, Cole Palmer. He didn't steal the headlines, but he stole space. Constantly available, press-resistant. Carried the ball through congested pockets like a man carrying coffee through a crowd. Always steady, never spilling. He's the kind of player you only miss when he's not there, which makes him dangerous. Fluminense, their standouts, were all energy, all heart. Soteldo tried to drag them forward with every touch. Everaldo had fire in his boots, even if the ball didn't listen. Arias kept making himself available, but their efforts lived in isolation. No combination play. No real rhythm. Just sparks in the wind. Thiago Silva, this hurts to say. But this was a sad one. There's no malice here, just melancholy. The mind is sharp, the eyes see the play, but the body doesn't always respond. João Pedro's first goal was a ghost of the defender Silva used to be, and seeing it happen in this fixture, you felt it in your chest. So that's how it played out. Not just two teams, not just tactics, but 22 stories, some rising, some fading, a debut remembered. A legend questioned, and in between, a whole lot of football. This has been Across the Pitch. Over and out.